Good morning, children. So, this is part 4 and the last part of the chapter Final Accounts. In the previous part 3 video, we have discussed practical question on trading account and also few of the missing values question and quite conceptual question, practical question. In this video, we are going to discuss a question on the preparation of profit and loss account and one full-fledged question on the preparation of trading account, profit and loss account and balance sheet. So let us begin. This question is taken from your practical problems in your from your accounts book by D.K. Goel. The question says prepare profit and loss account for the year ended 31st March 2017 from the following particulars. Now, in this you have to prepare only profit and loss account. So before starting with the question, we just have to clearly remember that while preparing profit and loss account, the format says profit and loss account, beneath we'll write for the year ended. In this case, we will write for the year ended 31st March 2017. And on the debit side, first of all, we will write two gross loss brought down, if any, from the trading account. And then we will write all the indirect expenses and losses. And since these are all to be written on the debit side, so we will start with the word to, to. And on the credit side, first of all, we will show the balance of any gross profit brought down from the trading account. So we will write by gross profit BD, that is brought down. And then we will write all the indirect incomes and gains. And since these are to be written on the credit side, so we will start with the word by. And after putting it all the debit and the credit items, we will compare the debit and the credit side. If the credit side is more than the debit side, it will be treated as a net profit, which will be transferred to capital in the balance sheet. So we will write the balancing figure, the difference amount of net profit on the debit side, as to net profit transferred to capital, so as to make both the sides equal. But if the debit side total is more than the credit side total, that means it will be regarded as the net loss, and the balancing figure will be written on the credit side as by net loss transferred to capital in the balance sheet, so as to make both the sides equal. So let us begin with the question. Now, in this, whenever you have to prepare the profit and loss account, just quickly, first of all, search for the amount of gross profit or gross loss. Now, as you can see here on the right hand side column, gross profit is given as 7,79,000, and any profit, income or gain will carry a credit balance, as we have already discussed. So we will write this amount of gross profit on the credit side of profit and loss account as by gross profit brought down. Very important, you have to write brought down, B/D, 7,69,000. Now coming to this beginning of the question, general expenses is an indirect expense. It will be shown in the PL account debit side, to general expenses 12,000. Charity is an indirect expense. It will be written again PL account debit side, to charity 3,000. Office lighting related to office again is an indirect expense, PL account debit side. Law charges, indirect expenses, PL account debit side. Advertisement, PL account or profit and loss account debit side, indirect expense. Bank charges, it is again an indirect expense, profit and loss account debit side. Commission, now if it was commission received, it would have been indirect income. It would have been shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. If it was commission paid, it would have been indirect expense and would have been shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Now since in this case no paid or received word is given, therefore the rule applies which we have discussed in the part 2 video, that we will, in the absence of any information regarding whether an item is received or paid, we will assume it to be paid and it will be treated as an expense. It will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Rent, rates and taxes, again the same rule. No paid or received word is given, so it will be regarded as paid and it will be shown as an indirect expense on the debit side of profit and loss account. Interest on investments, now any interest on investment is considered to be interest received, because when we do the investment we receive the interest, so therefore it is an indirect income. It will be basically treated as an indirect income and will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. Sundry receipts, again miscellaneous receipts. Receipts means income. So these are indirect income, will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. Indirect expenses, the name itself suggests, debit side of the profit and loss account. Printing and stationery, indirect expense, again debit side of the profit and loss account. Then gross profit, that you have already shown on the credit side. Now carriage outwards, carriage outwards is given, then it is an indirect expense, debit side of the profit and loss account. Office expenses, again debit side of the profit and loss account. Fire insurance premium, again debit side of the profit and loss account. Telephone expenses, debit side of the profit and loss account because indirect expenses है. Establishment expenses, again an indirect expense, debit side of the profit and loss account. Miscellaneous expenses, indirect expenses, debit side of the profit and loss account. Discount received, it is an indirect gain, it will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. Traveler's salary, again it is an indirect expense, debit side of the profit and loss account. Repair, debit side of the profit and loss account. Commission credit, so credit means income, we credit the income, so that means it is commission received, so it will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. So we have discussed which item will be placed where. Now let us see the solution. As you can see the solution, on the credit side we have shown by gross profit brought down 7,16,000, BD is important. Then we have shown all the indirect incomes and gains. By interest on investment 12,000, by sundry receipts 6,000, by discount received 6,200, by commission 2,000, that means the credit balance. On the debit side we have shown all the indirect expenses, to general expenses, to charity. Why we are writing the word to? Because we are writing it on the debit side, so we have to start it with the word to office lighting, law charges, advertisement, bank charges, commission, rent rates and taxes. Indirect expenses, printing and stationery, carriage outwards, office expenses, fire insurance premium, telephone expenses, establishment expenses, miscellaneous expenses, traveler's salary, repair. So after putting up all the debit and the credit items, we will compare whether the debit side is more or the credit side is more. So on comparing, we found out that the credit side is more than the debit side. It means income. The total of income is more than the total of expenses. So that means it is a net profit. So the balancing figure or the amount of net profit will be shown on the debit side as 5,72,000. This is basically the difference between the debit and the credit side, by which both the sides will become equal, and this 5,72,000 has to be added because it is a net profit. So it has to be added to the amount of capital in the balance sheet, which you are not required to prepare in this question. And then automatically by putting this amount of net profit as the balancing figure, both the sides will become equal with amount of 7,95,200. Now note, interest on investment is an income, hence it will be credited. Therefore we have shown it on the credit side of the profit and loss account. And again, just a reminder, before preparing the profit and loss account, in the heading itself we will write profit and loss account for the year ending 31st March 2017. So I hope the preparation of profit and loss account is clear to you, children. Now this question is very important, or we can say it is a very good question. Question number 18. Here you have to prepare all the three things: the trading account, the profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. Now children, what you can do is, the option is with you. You have to prepare trading account separately, profit and loss account separately, but the best method is to combine the preparation of trading account and profit and loss account, which is known as the consolidated profit and loss account. You just prepare one format of 4 columns: particular debit side particulars amount, credit side particulars amount. one format. And in that format, first you show the preparation of trading account, and just after that you show the preparation of profit and loss account, and in the heading itself you write trading and profit and loss account for the year ending whatever the date is. You need not prepare trading separately and profit separately. That is known as consolidated profit and loss account. So in this question we will prepare a consolidated profit and loss account, and it is feasible if you prepare it like that. So from the following balances extracted from the following from the books of Sri Badri Vishal on 31st March 2017, prepare a trading account, PL account, that is profit and loss account, and a balance sheet. Closing stock valued on that date was rupees 15,000, and as you can see it is a trial balance given to you. Particulars column, then the debit column and credit column. Debit and credit columns are equal. So this is a trial balance. Closing stock, as you can see, is given outside the trial balance, rupees 15,000. So that means this closing stock is treated as an adjustment, and it will be shown in two places. First of all, it will be shown on the credit side of the trading account, and on the other hand it will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet as well. So whenever this kind of question is given, you just what you can see do is, the easiest way is just go through the question once and just mark which item will be shown in trading, which item will be shown in PL, and which item will be shown in the balance sheet. And simultaneously you can prepare the format and you can put the items in the respective accounts and statement. So the first one is capital. Capital is a liability. Basically it is shown in the liability side of the balance sheet, 1,28,200. Household expense is drawings, 10,000. It will be drawings, it is a personal expense, so it will be deducted from capital on the liability side of the balance sheet, that is 1,28,200 minus 10,000. Next, the amount of sales, 1,80,000. It will be shown on the credit side of the trading account, and amount of sales return or return inward will be deducted from it. So that means we will show on the credit side of trading account buy sales 1,80,000 minus return inward 4,000. So the net amount of net sales will be shown in the amount column. Then return outwards amount of 6,000 will be shown as a deduction from the amount of purchases on the debit side of the trading account. So the amount of purchases is 1,50,000, as you can see in the question. So it will be shown on the trading account debit side, two purchases 1,50,000 minus purchase return 6,000. So the net amount of 1,44,000 will be shown in the amount column as net purchases. Then cash at shop 1,600. Cash is an asset. It will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. Bank overdraft is a liability, 15,000 will be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Then interest on overdraft is an expense, is an indirect expense. Basically it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account as 2 interest on overdraft 1,500. Creditors 17,800 is a liability. It will be shown on the liabilities side of the balance sheet. Stock at the commencement. Commencement means the beginning. So that means this 18,000 stock at the commencement is the opening stock, and it will be shown on the debit side of the trading account as 2 opening stock 18,000. Then amount of freight 8,500. Now if it was freight inward, it would have been shown on the debit side of the trading account. If it was freight outward, it would have been shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. But since no inward or outward word is mentioned, so the rule says we will regard it as a direct expense, and we will show it on the debit side of the trading account as 2 freight 8,500. Then rents and taxes, again debit balance is, because the balance is given on the debit side, so that means it is paid, it is an expense, it is an indirect expense because no factory word is given. So we will show it on the debit side of the profit and loss account as 2 rents and taxes 7,000. Then debtors is an asset. It will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet 32,600. Then commission, as you can see, The amount is given on both the sides. Debit side it is given 3000 and credit side it is given 2200. So the debit side balance of commission is commission paid, because we have to debit expenses. So commission paid or 3000 of commission will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account as to commission 3000, and the credit balance of commission will be regarded as a commission received or income, indirect income. It will be shown on the credit side of profit and loss account as by commission 2200. Then freehold property, it is property is an asset, it will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet 30,000. Then sundry expenses, again it is miscellaneous expenses, indirect expenses, it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account as two sundry expenses 3900. Then salaries and wages, now if it was wages it would have been shown on the debit side of the trading account. If it was salaries it would have been shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. But here you have the combined words salaries and wages. So as the rule we have discussed earlier that we have to focus on the first word. So the first word here is salary, so it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Then life insurance premium, again it is a personal expense of the proprietor, of the owner, it is considered as a drawing. So this amount of life insurance premium will be deducted from capital on the liability side of the balance sheet. Next is insurance premium. It is regarded as an indirect expense. It will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Then motor vehicle, it is an asset, will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. Typewriter again is an asset, it will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. Interest, now you have to see whether interest is paid or received. So no word is given whether it is paid or received. Then the another point which you have to see, if any debit or credit balance is given. So here we can see that the amount of interest 800 is given on the credit side. That means it is carrying a credit balance, and we know the rule that we have to credit all incomes and gains. That means this 800 of interest is basically income, interest received. So it will be shown on the credit side of profit and loss account as by interest 800. Then carriage inward is a direct expense, it will be shown on the debit side of the trading account. Carriage outward is an indirect expense, it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Then power is a direct expense, it will be shown on the debit side of the trading account. Audit fee is an indirect expense, it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. And lighting is an indirect expense because no factory work is given, so it will be also shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. So we have discussed all the items, which item will go where. And closing stock, as it is given outside the trial balance, it will be shown on the credit side of trading account and also on the asset side of the balance sheet. So what we will have to do, we will put the items on simultaneously on each format, and then we will close one by one. First of all, we will close the trading account, we will compare the debit and the credit side, and any amount of gross profit or gross loss will be transferred to profit and loss account. Then again we will compare the debit and credit side of profit and loss account. Any difference will be regarded as net profit or net loss, which will be transferred to capital. If it is net profit, it will be added to capital. If it is net loss, it will be deducted from capital. And then ultimately we will total the balance sheet, and which should automatically be equal. Now let us see the solution. So here we are preparing the consolidated profit and loss account. Consolidated means we are combining the same format, but first half we will show the trading account and the second half we will show the profit and loss account. So since we are preparing a consolidated and we have to prepare in this manner only, so we will write the heading trading and profit and loss account, and beneath it we will write for the year ending 31st March 2017. Then when we have shown the format, debit side particulars amount, credit side particulars amount. So first half we will show the preparation of trading account, and the second half we will show the preparation of profit and loss account. So which item will go where, that we have already discussed while reading the question. So let us quickly just give a glance. On the debit side, since the first half is the trading account, so on the debit side of the trading account we have shown the opening stock at commencement 18,000. Debit side, two purchases 1,50,000 minus purchase return or return outward 6,000, so net amount of purchases 1,44,000 shown in the main amount column. Then two direct expenses such as carriage inward 2,000, freight 8,500, par 2,200. And since we are writing it in the debit side, therefore we are starting with the word to. And on the credit side we are writing buy sales 1,80,000 minus return inwards 4,000 or sales return 4,000. That means the net amount of sales is 1,76,000, which is shown in the main amount column. And then we are also writing closing stock because it was given in outside the trial balance. And since these items are written on the credit side, therefore we are starting with the word buy. Now after putting up all the debit and the credit items, we will compare the total of debit side with the total of credit side. And on comparing it, we found out that the total of credit side was more than the total of debit side. That means our direct incomes were more than our direct expenses and cost. So therefore it will be regarded as a profit, and since we are preparing trading account, therefore it will be regarded as a gross profit. So we will write the balancing figure amount of gross profit on the debit side to gross profit carried down. Very important, CD, carried down, because we are transferring this amount from here to profit and loss account. So the difference between both the sides is 16,300, and then we will total, which should come to equal 1,91,000. Now immediately, this is first half of trading account. Immediately after this, the first item which we will be showing in the profit and loss account, which is the second half, will be the gross profit. So gross profit, now we know that profit carries a credit balance, so it will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account as by gross profit, because we are showing it on the credit side. So by gross profit brought down, because we are bringing it down from the trading account. So by gross profit brought down 16,300. Then on the credit side, we have shown all the indirect incomes. By commission, the credit column balance 2,200, by interest 800. And on the debit side, we have shown all the indirect expenses. These you will be showing only after closing the trading account. So we have shown the indirect expenses on the debit side, 2 interest on overdraft, 2 rent and taxes. We are writing the word 2 because it is the rule that on debit side of an account we have to start with the word 2. 2 commission, debit balance, that is 3,000. Sundry expenses, salaries and wages, because salaries we have to focus on the first word. Insurance premium, carriage outward, audit fee and lighting. Now after putting all the debit and the credit items, we have to compare the total of the debit side with the total of the credit side. If the total of debit side is more than the credit side, as in this case the total of debit side is more. Now when you are totaling it, you have to total only the profit and loss account items, not the trading account, that because that you have already closed. Remember this point very nicely. Now while calculating the difference, we found out that the total of debit side of profit and loss account is more than the total of credit side. That means our expenses are more than our incomes. So therefore it will be considered as, the difference will be considered as a net loss, which will be shown on the credit side as by net loss carried down. Why? Because we have to transfer this amount of net loss from here to capital. This amount of net loss will be deducted from capital on the liabilities side of the balance sheet. So we will write by net loss carried down, that is CD. This word is very important, 22,200. This is basically the difference between the debit and the credit side. And now you will total, then it will automatically will be the same, because you have already balanced it, 41,500 on each side. So this is consolidated trading and profit and loss account. You have to prepare trading and profit and loss account in this manner. Now the preparation of balance sheet. So just a quick point to remember before preparing the balance sheet in this question, that balance sheet is not an account, it is a statement, and therefore we will not write the word for the year ending. We will write the word as at, because if we are preparing the balance sheet on a particular date, so we will write as at and the date or the end of the accounting year, that is 31st March 2017. Number 2, balance sheet is a statement and not an account, therefore we will not write any debit or the credit side, rather the left hand side will be the liabilities side and the right hand side will be the asset side. And then since it is not an account, there are no debit and the credit side, so therefore we will not start with the word to or by. We will simply write the items without the word to and by. So on the liability side, we are showing bank overdraft, creditors, capital, the amount given in the trial balance 1,28,200. Then we have deducted the amount of net loss which we have transferred from profit and loss account. We will deduct net loss 22,200. If it was net profit, then we would have added it. So we got the amount of 1,06,000. We have not shown it in the main amount column because we have to deduct few more things. So we have to deduct all the personal expenses of the proprietor or the drawings. So household expenses is to be deducted 10,000. Also minus life insurance premium. That means total of drawings 11,800 is to be deducted. Now ultimately 1,06,000 minus 11,800, or we can say 1,28,200 minus net loss 22,200 minus personal expenses 11,800. So that means now the net amount of capital is 94,200, which is shown in the main amount column. This much for the liability side as per this question. On the asset side, we will show all the assets, whether current or fixed. Cash at shop 1,600, debtors, closing stock. Why we are writing? Because it was given in the basically outside the trial balance, so it will be shown on 2 places. Then typewriter, motor vehicle and freehold property. And if you have done the question correctly, then at the end automatically the liability side will be equal to the asset side as per dual aspect principle or double entry system. So the total of balance sheet is 1,27,000 on the asset side and also on the liability side. If it is not coming to the same or equal, then that means children that you have made a mistake somewhere. What you have to do is you just have to go through the question and solution once again just to check if you have made a mistake somewhere. So this is a full-fledged question. You have to solve question like this. Format, these are very simple, purely format based, and you just need to remember which item will be shown where, and that you can do only and only if you have gone through the format very nicely. So I hope the questions discussed in this video is clear to you, children. So this is the assignment based on this part. You have to answer the following questions in your register. Question number 1. You have to redo the questions taught in this video. The 2 questions which we have discussed here, you have to redo them in your register on your own. You can obviously take the help from the video, but try to do it on your own. Then question number 2, you have to solve practical question number 13, 14, 15, 16 and 19. 5 questions from your book, from the chapter Final Accounts, from your book by D.K. Gold. These are purely format based, children. These are very simple questions, but I would suggest before solving these questions, just go through all the parts of the video, part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4, and also go through the format specially, so that it will help you to solve the question in an easier way. So with this part, children, we come to an end to this chapter. Thank you, children. Take care.